Hi, welcome to RestroCast. Today my guest is Alaa Sayed. He's the general manager for Al-Baik UAE, ServQuest. Alaa's journey was very interesting because, from being a professional football player to somebody who wanted to be a tour guide showing people wonders of Egypt to joining restaurant industry. One thing that ties all these three professions is being with people, the love of being with people and caring for them. I found Alaa to be a great operator. And in this conversation, I got to know the organizations on the way who shaped him to be a great operator. This was a fun and very insightful conversation. Watch. Welcome to RestroCast. Welcome, Alaa.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the RestroCast.
My pleasure. I have seen your interviews with other people in the industry here, and it was very interesting to come and be your guest. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for the honor. And Alaa, we'll dive right in. I've seen, a career that is, up to the neck and beyond in the restaurants.
Yes.
You started, probably, I don't know if I should call it the bottom, but you really started and you've probably done every role in the restaurant space.
True.
From bottom to top.
True.
How did it all start? Tell me about your early years.
Quite interesting. I started my life as a footballer, so I was playing football, and I was good at it, and I was in the national team up to 18 years old. So I'm getting used to have people around me all the time.
That was in Egypt.
Yeah. I was having a proper income. Then after the injury, I was in the faculty of tourism and hotel. And the reason why I joined that, I love to be among people all the time. It's a kind of passion. I love to see different people all the time. And the main goal was to be a tour guide. Okay, so you understand how Egypt full of like pyramids and all this kind of stuff.
The main job, goal was to be a tour guide.
That at the beginning, right?
Okay.
And I was very fascinated about the Egyptian history. I even learned how to read hieroglyphic language, how to translate it. It was very interesting for me to see people coming from around the world to come and see what's going on. It was a passion. After I graduated, then a lot of events, unfortunate events, start to happen in Egypt, and that field was not really stable. So I started to think about, okay, what is the second option for me?
Oh, so you were serious about that?
Yeah, I was really serious.
Wow.
So the second option for me, where else I can meet people? Like where else I can have a job that I can interact with people directly. I don't want to be kept in an office. I don't want to just work 9 hours in a cubicle, not seeing anyone behind a screen. So for me, it was okay. It's more or less related to where I studied and start with the restaurant business. So as you said, I take it from really down up, and I have done everything. Being on the grill for quite a few hours, being on the fryer for quite a few hours.
I need to tell you something. So my mom is a, absolute National Geographic history and discovery buff.
Okay.
Right. So she probably, has watched more stuff than I am, about everything.
Yeah.
And, couple years back, she basically said, I want to go to Egypt.
Okay.
I want to see the pyramids. I want to see everything.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, where is this coming from? She said, no, I watched a documentary on history.
Yeah.
I really need to go there.
Yeah.
I said, okay. And then I searched online.
Yeah.
That what's going on, how is it, how is it to navigate? And then I saw this video. One guy basically said that it's difficult to navigate on ground in the sense that, if you don't know the language, if you're not,
you need someone, you need a guide.
Yeah, you need someone to, take care. And then, some law basically which says that you can't make videos or take pictures or something.
It depends. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that. I mean, this was I think just outside of pandemic,
Yeah,
right? It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
21,
Okay.
22
Yeah.
last year, 1.5 years back. So I basically promised her
Okay.
that okay, we will go to Egypt.
All right.
The day I find someone
That's me.
who can
You find it.
I'm going to take you on the offer. At least I will help you live nostalgia,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
nothing else.
yeah, exactly. And the good part that not everyone knows is not the permits. Permits is the I'm not gonna say the less thing that you have to see, but it's just a small part of it. The downsides of Egypt, they call it the South, the Egyptian South, have all the tombs and temples, and it's a two cities called Luxor and Aswan, and they're full of amazing things that not everyone knows about them. You will see Tutankhamun, the king who died on 17 years old, 16 years old. You can see his entire story life scripted on the walls, and you can just read everything about it. Still colors are very bright and not faded since 5,000 years ago.
No,
Blue is blue, green is green.
Oh, these are 5,000-year-old structures.
Yeah. So it's very interesting when you go down more than the pyramids itself. But hey, you got a tour guide. It's for free. Don't worry about it.
No, I can relate to this. Right now, 2 weeks back I was in Rome, and I've been telling everyone for the last 2 weeks that I went crazy because I am a history buff as well.
Okay.
So for me, Rome was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
these guys really did some cool stuff.
Of course.
And Rome is full of Egyptian obelisks.
Yeah.
They're standing everywhere.
Look at the British Museum. There's 90% of the British Museum is Egyptian monuments.
Really?
Yeah, 90%. Literally, I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
Go to the British Museum and
West End is Indian, so basically
the rest are exactly. There's nothing related to Great Britain at all inside.
I think if British Museum starts returning their goods to the world, it's gonna be empty.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
true.
But there was this very funny interview. You know John Oliver?
Yeah.
So John Oliver did a show on British museums.
Okay.
Please do watch that. You will die laughing. Like the guy basically also interviewed museum directors at different parts of UK.
All right.
And one museum director, they asked that they were talking about this particular place in Africa where British apparently took the mud tablets on which their then king wrote all the sermons and everything, right? So that is their direct history. Right? And that does not exist in the African museum because it was only one plate, right? Yeah. So it exists in British museum.
Exactly.
So in John Oliver's show, they interviewed this museum director asking him, hey, now the world is fine.
Yeah.
Right? Everything is over.
Yeah.
And this is the only piece that was in the world for those African kids, right? And that belongs to those African kids. Yeah. So why don't you return that?
Yeah, can we take it back?
Museum director, like without even flinching, stoic. He said, what we are doing is a great service to the African nationals by preserving it for them to come and see it. Oh my God. If we give it back to them, it will get spoiled in their country. Still. He actually said that. And there were at least 5-6 things like that. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
There is some entitlement.
It's still the same logic.
Same logic.
Still the same logic, right? Be smarter, they know better. So anyway, let's not debate about it and go to political issues. And so I've taken the road from the beginning, and I loved being on the front of the business. But you have to do the inside drill. You can't be in the front without going through everything inside the kitchen, right? So I have done my part inside, and I've taken the chances to be outside in the front line, talking to the people,
No, but how did the restaurant line happen? Did you study?
Listen, it wasn't really difficult since you're gonna work as a junior, since you can't speak English anyway. You can read the manuals. You can cook fries. It's not really a rocket science. Just that you need certain period of
No,
training.
but did you do hotel management?
My study was about that. So
Okay, got it.
it's a faculty of tourism and hotel management. So in general, I have studied everything around it.
Got it.
And being a tour guide, it was just like a small element of it, which is you just need to study the Egyptian history very well, and you can just tell stories about it. Okay. But the main study was about hotel and business management. So it wasn't so difficult for me to join the restaurant industry.
Sure.
It's just that you need, as I told you, you need to do the drill from the
What
beginning.
was the first job in the restaurant space?
So my first job was with Hardee's, okay, and basically they came to the faculty, our university, and they picked some names that had some high grades, and they sent us letters saying like, hey, we have vacancies if you want to join, and back then the job was in Qatar. I was still in Egypt, so I said, why not? Let's try. The title was an assistant manager, but in order to be officially an assistant manager, you have to go through all the trainings, and I have done it all. Being an assistant manager with Hardee's was really interesting. It's not so difficult like KFC, because they are the same company. Hardee's was just like a bit high knee on KFC. It's very like a just sandwich and burgers, so you don't deal really with fried chicken and oil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the interesting part was that Qatar back then was at the beginning of a start to having people from outside. They opened the doors for all the nationalities to come in. So I met a lot of people from different countries. I have a lot of friendships with them, and it was really good 2 years. And for some issues happening back home, I went back. Then I joined in the same field as well. So I joined a business that between the United States and the Egyptian Air Force. So there is a kind of a collaboration between both countries.
Like they have an Air Force base?
Exactly.
American
There's
Air Force base
exactly.
in Egypt.
And those bases has F&B as well. So each one of the bases has a restaurant, has supermarket, has entertainment, has bar, has everything.
Yeah, we actually work with American Air Base in Qatar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I used to manage the F&B in those American bases. It was quite different. Limited customers that you're dealing with a very specific requirement, and you're dealing with products from outside Egypt and other products from inside Egypt. It was very nice. 5 days work, 3 days off. You get paid well.
Great work-life balance.
Yeah, exactly. I was doing too many things, not only just work. Like I have time for my gym, I have time for my family. I was doing a lot of things back then, and that stayed with me for like 8 years.
Wow, that's a...
Yeah, I was making good money. It's US dollars. Things are
spoiled for good.
nice. Exactly, we having a good life, me and my family. Then the revolution happened in Egypt. And when the revolution happened in Egypt, things start to get affected somehow.
Sure.
And it was a sign for me to start to look for something. It wasn't bad for me. I was still okay. But it was a sign for me to start have a look for something outside. And I met Gary and I met Tyrone. Tyrone now, he's, I think with
Tyrone
MM.
Reed.
Yeah, Tyrone Reed. And I met him in Cairo. It was very interesting meeting, 10 minutes. Got the job on the same interview. I got the offer letter within the same 10 minutes. And I don't know, for some reason, he said, like, can I have a photo with you? So like, okay, so yeah, take a photo. And he sent it to Gary. And Gary was managing the business in the UAE. So like, hey, Gary, he sent him a note. I found your guy. It's like what's going on? What do you mean by I found your guy? They said, you will know when you go to the UAE. I said, okay. And I came to Shake Shack. And Shake Shack was at the beginning. The open mall of the Emirates. But I joined them later on. It was very interesting training period. We had people from UK, from Scotland, from Brazil, from Portugal, from everywhere in our team. And that was my really first experience to understand how really the new American business are trading. Because Hardee's and KFC is still American business, right? But when we talk about Shake Shack, it's a completely different level.
Is it the excellence or
It is. But it is based on people more than the product. Okay.
how do they how what was your experience of this the thing that you just said, right?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Danny Mears. I'm a fan of
he's-
Shake Shack as
yeah.
a customer as well, and
Yeah.
as a business person.
Yeah.
But then what's the experience of actual people
Yeah.
when they say that this is people first? What's that?
Let's agree on something. We had an amazing team. So starting from Tyrone down, and the brand philosophy itself is about how to live 9 hours on daily basis with people that you really like and you want to spend more time with them, and how we can create this kind of chemistry. And it's always about the 10 minutes that we meet before the shift. Okay, so those 10 minutes we talk, we throw jokes, but at the same time we talk about business, we talk about goals and objectives, and we make sure that the entire shift have the same rhythm of being motivated all the time. There was no sir, ma'am at all in the entire hierarchy. We all call ourselves with our names, and I'm not really ever faced a problem with those people to the limit that you think, you know what, I want to have another job. No, you don't get this feeling with them. To the point that you love to be all the time in the kitchen, outside the kitchen, dealing with the customers. Customers start to know you by your name, because you don't really call them sir or ma'am, you call them by their name, so they start shout back at you with your name. And this is something I found very interesting. What I didn't see that at any brand before. The way of putting the uniform.
Yeah, this side of the world is
exactly
is a little different, right?
Yeah, completely.
Because you also grow up in your education, you grow up differently. You don't call your neighbors by your name.
Exactly.
You don't call your teachers by their name,
Yeah.
right? And then so on,
True.
right? So it's kind of layered and ingrained in a very different way.
True. It is a good in some perspective, but at the same time, in this field or in this kind of business, it's really, really good to be bubbly, to be yourself. You know? Because you create this kind of environment and letting people feel that they're coming to their beloved place, like a place that they love to come on daily basis or even twice a week to have a nice time. Even the way we treat people, like, hey, what's shaking and what's going on, what's up, you know, we were not allowed to say that at any restaurant that we have worked before. You cannot say that.
But you know, I mean, I'm just trying to push the point a little.
Yeah.
That you can still achieve by training, right? I mean, you can train people to say, hey, what's up, what's happening?
Yeah.
But how does that person, I mean, that's the act that you're putting at the counter because there is a customer in front of you.
Yeah.
But what was your experience as, you know, somebody on the team at Shake Shack? I understand that you talked about like first name basis. That's a very American thing, right? A couple of things are very American that I'm assuming must be happening at Hardee's and KFC as well. But you're saying that it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. But what else? Like, where did you feel that, okay, the people first approach was really people first? Like, any anecdotes?
Okay. That it could happen through a lot of details happening through the day. So the communication was directly to the point that any staff can communicate with Tyrone directly without going through a store manager or an area manager, in a good way, in a sense that give you a sense of that we are, all of us, a family. So even if, you know, we work in a country that have rules and regulations, and there are certain businesses that when you are absent, you need to get a sick note and you need to do this and you need to that. You need to follow the formality. With Shake Shack was completely different. Like, when you calling me saying I'm sick, I cannot come today, I trust you are sick. You know, I trust this is really happening, and I give you this kind of leverage, and I don't ask you about formality because I know when the time comes and I need you to stay a couple of hours more, you're gonna do this for me. And the same rules apply. And sometimes when I remember that correctly, We spent more than 12 hours in a store preparing for the opening. And we got a phone call from Gary and said like, hey, it's my birthday, please come in. And he invited that entire restaurant. That starts
Beautiful.
from the management till the last crew, huh? It's my birthday, guys, come for a drink, come have cake with me, you know? And that creates the boom, that creates the environment. And this is why Shake Shack was really something special in my career, honestly.
Did you meet Danny Mears?
I didn't, but I met his team in the office. They came to visit us. There was a guy, Garuti, something Garuti. He was the CEO. He's the second man after Danny Meyer. He came to our restaurants in Delma Mall, shake hands, ask us how's going on, what's going on. He was very friendly. But I read the book, Danny Meyer. I have to read the book. You know, the guy was amazing. He's a legend.
He's a
in my
legend.
opinion, he's a legend.
I think is I very interestingly I got introduced to the Union Square Cafe and Danny Mears first in my readings.
Yeah.
And I did not know that Shake Shack belongs to the same house.
Yeah. Okay.
And in a parallel world, I used to admire Shake Shack.
Mm-hmm.
And one day both collided.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Because I used to admire Shake Shack with intrigue.
Yeah.
Because it was an American chain.
Okay.
They were selling sandwiches.
Yeah.
But they were not McDonald's.
Yeah.
They were not KFC.
Exactly.
There was something calm, classy, high quality about them.
Yeah.
I could feel it.
Yeah.
I could perceive it.
True.
I could clearly see that these guys are not in a rush.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They're chill. Wherever they are, they're doing extremely well. They're killing it. It's a high quality product. It's a high value product. All the check boxes were going on in my head. And I'm a lover of high quality products. I'm a lover of high value products. I'm not a discount buyer. I'm not a discount giver. I'm, I really believe in delivering the value. Put your, money where the mouth is. So for me, they were just checking all the check boxes, right? And then, the day I realized that the inception of Shake Shack and how it, came out of Union Square hospitality, I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. Like,
and these still with all the what you mentioned right now about quality, about everything, you're still being served in a very, very short time.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not gonna take 20 minutes to serve you a burger or something. No, it comes in time. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not abundantly clear already, I'm an absolute Shake Shack fan.
Yeah. I'm still, me and my family, we have to do a visit for Shake Shack every now and then. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, same here. If I find, wherever I find Shake Shack, there's a very high chance that my priority will change.
Yeah. Then comes to...
so what, like you spent how long were you at Shake Shack?
2 years. Then I get surprised with another brand, have completely different culture, which is BurgerFuel.
I have a story for that, but you continue.
Okay. BurgerFuel is a New Zealand-based brand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from New Zealand.
Wow.
Yeah. And for me, that was something weird. Like, brand not from America and having
Up
this
till now, I used to think it's a local brand, but then you go on.
It's coming from a completely different part of the world. But when I get in, like, everyone is putting shorts, tattoos, earrings, everyone, his personality. There's no formality at all, as well as it's even an extra level of Shake Shack. And I met Colin. And Colin De Bruin, back then he was the operation manager. And by the way, he's a friend, and he's one of the guys who's impacted my personality as well in terms of how to manage the business. When I met him, we had a good 10 minutes talk. So like, do you want to work with me? So like, then so like, you want to work with me? So like, Colin, yeah, my pleasure. Then he started to put me in training and stuff like that. I was managing the Abu Dhabi area. So back then, Shake Shack was like 16th outlet in the UAE, and there was a plan to grow more. And I went to New Zealand. I have like 21 days over there for training and see the brand culture and everything. And I was really sad when I heard the news that BurgerFuel is not is no longer having this kind of branches around in the UAE, because really it was really good product, it was really good service. Um, but this is
You're saying they were
UAE,
not
man.
able to.
Yeah, they were not able to accelerate the growth more, and for some reason, and I think something happened between the holding company and
Oh, you mean now?
yeah,
But you spent you joined them and you spent.
yeah, I spent like 3.5 years over there. It was really amazing.
That was from which year to which year?
I think that was 2018. Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is exactly when
Starting
I
to-
think discovered BurgerFuel.
Oh, okay.
I discovered BurgerFuel, and I, up till now, I didn't know it's a New Zealand
Yeah,
brand.
it is.
I discovered BurgerFuel at WTC,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Quite randomly.
yeah,
I was flying from US to Dubai, came back in the morning,
yeah,
disoriented.
yeah.
I think reached hotel 3 years before check-in. Hotel said you don't have a check-in right now. I was like, dude, come on. And then I threw my bags and said, all right, I'll take a stroll outside, right?
Okay.
And I saw BurgerFuel.
Let's give it a
Found
try.
interesting, just give it a try. Couple of things stood out for me. And I actually, honestly, when I walked in, because it was WTC is like a expo area, and there was no expo going on. So I was like, okay, maybe it's all empty right now because these guys have
There's
captive
no
audience.
events or something.
In my head, something is also saying that don't go here
Yeah.
because it's an expo area.
Okay.
These guys have no incentive to make good food because captive audience, right?
Yeah,
and the day's expo is not there. It's not there.
Sure.
But I still followed my instincts, went in, and first thing that I noticed is everybody is very cool. I saw tattoos. I saw people, quite chill.
And
absolutely. I felt like, okay, something is happening here.
Okay.
It's interesting. So piqued my interest. Ordered a burger. And I remember, I don't remember the specifics of the conversation I had with the order taker, but I know that was interesting because when I was trying to choose the burger, the way she interrupted and, kind of almost commanded that, come on, dude, like, what else? What do you want? Okay, this.
Yeah.
As soon as I got the burger and first bite, boom, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I kept on wondering that why is it empty? Like why are people not flocking here?
Yeah.
That was one. Second thing that I have spoken about to a lot of burger joints all across the world
Okay.
is that what is it called? The burger holder.
The doofer.
Doofer.
Yeah, the doofer. Yeah.
I have never seen it anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So they give you this you want to explain what is it?
I think the story of the doofer, because BurgerFuel is doing really something amazing in New Zealand. What they do is anyone related to the brand somehow, you could be a customer, you could be a supplier, there is an event happening on maybe quarterly basis, and they just invite all those people and they throw a party, like a proper party, okay, in the head office. The head office is like 2 floors. There is space for ping pong, billiard, and all this kind of stuff. It's just like Google kind of thing. And they throw the party, and everyone has any new idea, he can come and put it, and if it's good, they implement it immediately.
Beautiful. Wow.
So this guy, he's just a regular customer. He loves to eat BurgerFuel, and usually it's really good meat and it's juicy
and it's messy.
Yeah, and he just came up with this, and he said, like, guys, I have an idea. Why you don't use this for your burger? And this guy, after introduced this doofer thing, he's a shareholder immediately. So they give him
Alaa,
share.
this is the coolest story.
They give him share in a company immediately. So this guy, this is Joseph, the owner, okay, and the creator of the brand, Joseph and Chris. And Joseph, he's the official owner right now. And Jonathan is just, he's just like a very cool guy that you just randomly meeting him, getting out of his Range Rover, said like, hey, what's going on? Let's go for lunch. I don't have money. And he's the owner. I was like, okay, don't worry, I'll pay. Sorry, don't worry, I'll pay for you. And you just pay for him. And afterwards, you just go at the same day, you just go and have a party with him somehow. And He throw parties.
Awesome.
He
No,
throw
I think
parties.
that doofer
Yeah.
is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Like I was so intrigued. I saw that. I of course fiddled with it to learn how to hold it.
Yeah,
Because first I thought it's just gimmicky. Like
Yeah.
how will I use this?
Yeah.
And then I used it.
Yeah. Just
It actually doesn't spill.
yeah. It holds
After
the
that,
burger.
it holds the burger very nicely.
Yeah.
And I've never seen this anybody doing it. Anybody else doing it.
Yeah.
So I have, I've been talking about this to so many people.
Yeah.
Nobody does anything about it.
Yeah.
But,
And you can see them, even the people who works with BurgerFuel in New Zealand, they obsessed with cars. It's a common thing, right? And so they are obsessed with muscle cars and race. So you will see them in the restaurant and you see them at the race by the end of the day. And all of them know about engines for some reason. I don't know.
really?
Yeah. So the brand is attached somehow with muscle cars, race, and this cool stuff. And you'll see them all the time related to all the activity that related to this kind of thing.
Wow.
So it's cool from all the angles. But
I wanna meet Joseph.
I think you have to meet Joseph somehow.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind
I
flying to
think
New Zealand for that.
he was part of Red Bull at the beginning, by the way.
Sorry?
Joseph. He was part of Red Bull. So he's one of the people that really started the business of Red Bull and
Oh, wow.
introducing Red Bull to the world.
Oh,
So-
no wonder.
Yeah, he's marketing
rest
genius
of the
as well.
car sports and
Yeah.
high adrenaline sports.
He's a marketing genius as well. I think it's worth meeting him.
nice.
Yeah.
How big is BurgerFuel now in the world?
I think they are having a good expansion in New Zealand, Australia, not really in the Middle East currently. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah,
It's 16 hours flight, man. It's just like hectic.
I do that every month.
Oh.
I do US, Dubai, India.
Every month.
I mean, 'cause sometimes twice.
Oof.
Yeah. So when people ask me where are you based, I've started
I'm
now
not
telling
based.
them that I'm based in an Emirates aircraft.
Exactly.
Because they recognize me more.
Yeah.
When flight crew starts recognizing you,
Yeah, I know that.
it's mixed feelings. All right. So what after BurgerFuel?
Then comes Jollibee.
Hmm.
Interesting Filipino brand.
Your entry into the fried chicken world.
Exactly. And that was the start. Managing a business on a completely different scale. Like reporting now to shareholders and board members, and you talk heavy stuff and financial reports, and you are responsible on growth. You're responsible on people life, and this is the most critical part that I really faced. That you feel some point that you are responsible on everyone that worked with you, crew members, and regardless of the position. But it is a heavy responsibility in a way that the growth and the success of the brand is equal to those people's life, because you are providing them with salary, incentives, job on daily basis. And if you fail to do that, they're gonna lose the jobs. If you didn't really achieve what you promised them to achieve, then the business will be impacted. And anything happen to the business, if it's downsized or whatsoever is gonna happen, those people might lose the job. Then it's gonna be mainly your responsibility. And when you think about it from this angle, everyone's perception that the more I get promoted, the more life is getting easy, but it's not.
When did that hit you?
That hit me the first P&L meeting with the shareholders, because I used to discuss P&L like million times, but the minute that you discuss this kind of P&L with shareholders, people who's really holding the
Their
money.
objective, was it the questions and the objectivity around the answers?
Yeah. So they are really looking for a certain growth in the business. They're looking for numbers.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you think about both how to deliver what you promise, but at the same time, you need to maintain this environment, and you need to be a sponge. So you're taking the pressure from up.
You
but
can
don't-
transfer
cannot put
it.
down.
Yeah.
You cannot transfer it. And I've learned few good things from all the brands that I work with, and this is the time to implement. But at the same time, you have to be careful that not all the environments are equal. And whatever you have learned in a brand, you cannot just come and implement it on other brand or environment, because they are different and you cannot apply the same. So you have to come up with your own way of creating this environment and make it a happy everyday shift for them, uh, and still you growing and incentivize them somehow. If life is getting more expensive, like what we live right now, there's a new tax being implemented here or there. You need to just be aware about what's going on. And it comes to the limit that you need to even feel how each and every nationality, because you are in Dubai and you are dealing with too many nationalities, how they think, how they act, how they react. And you have to systemize that in a way to make Indians, Filipino, Egyptians, Jordanian, and everyone just work together in a good environment. It's difficult. And everyone, if anyone tell you that it was a piece of cake for me to create a peaceful environment in business, I challenge him. It's not that easy. And
But was it the so see, we talked about Shake Shack, we talked about BurgerFuel, right? And then Jollibee. Now, is it the brand's culture
play a big role?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, what was the challenge? Why was it challenging?
The challenge in Jollibee, the brand purely coming from Philippines only.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they have been in the Asian market, far Asian market. So we talking about Vietnam, we talking about maybe Singapore, Malaysia, I think.
Correct. Yeah.
But never been in the Middle East. Okay.
When did they enter?
2015.
Oh, that's too new.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is many elements that you have to talk about, not only the brand culture, as well as the menu and the menu taste, flavors, and everything. In order to adapt all that to the Middle East, it's quite difficult. And when 99.9% of the staff are Filipinos, and you want to introduce the brand to the UAE as it's an international brand, so you have to change this mix. And that wasn't easy.
You mean to get UAE audience to look at Jollibee, you wanted to change the face of the people who serve?
You need to start from inside, right? You need to start actually from here. You need to think about it as an international plan. And if you will do that, then you have to look back and say, like, okay, store design, menu engineering.
How much of that? How much of that changed? Did it change quite a lot?
Yeah, and we managed to attract a lot of different nationality to come and taste the food, but obviously by introducing different flavors, right?
Also, the R&D for the region was also a part of your portfolio?
It was a part, but at the beginning it was difficult because he's again from Philippines and his kitchen in Philippines and his lab in Philippines and everything. So I've gone through this, but again, the main part for me was, okay, now it's not only that you managing the operation on a daily basis, now you have people that holding the money up there, you have to report to them and you have to start think how they look at the business. But I got there, like, after a few tries, I've got there. I understood what they are looking at. And since business is successful and scalable and you start opening more and more restaurants, they are fine.
How surprising was the world of fried chicken as compared to any other format, other restaurant?
Look at it, because I'm coming from Shake Shack, BurgerFuel, and both of them mainly focusing on the beef, right? It's purely about quality of the beef, burgers, and this part of the world is different. Like how fried chicken was popular 6-7 years ago in the burger. It wasn't that popular. It was purely about beef. Burger is a beef burger, right? Then things start to change. I've noticed that even in KFC, 50% of the menu is chicken burger.
Yeah.
People love chicken burger. Then start a lot of media thing about Popeyes and Chick-fil-A in America. And you remember this story, and all celebrities have been involved in it.
Yeah.
And okay, so chicken burger is the thing.
Yeah.
It's just about how you're gonna do it, how you're gonna bread it, how you're gonna do the spice mix and everything. But how you're gonna talk about it as well. Marketing was playing a big role in it. Okay. Um, but it is the item that you can sell 24/7. You're not gonna have a difficult time of selling chicken burger or chicken, fried chicken in general.
I'll share my understanding. I think I've been in this business for the last 12 and a half years,
Yeah.
11 years of running Possest, and 1.5 years before, I used to have my own restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've
Interesting.
I've rubbed it out a
Inside,
little.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but I can tell you that up until like 3 years back,
Yeah.
until we signed our first fried chicken, customer,
Yeah.
I did not know how different what this business was while
Yeah.
it looked the same.
Yeah.
The fact that as a fried chicken company, you don't have the liberty to cook things in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to have like a burst frying. It's gonna take whatever 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you can only sell what is there on the shelf,
Yeah.
and that also has a shelf life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that part of the business difficult, or is this how you slice fried chicken brands versus anybody else? Because that's how I have started looking at it.
It eventually it is about the end product that the consumer will taste, right? And you are very specific about what type of taste that you want to deliver. And because makes a difference, a huge difference between you and the competition, right? So there's a claim all the time in the market, claim that we are the most, could be crispy fried chicken. We are the most, I don't know, whatever fried chicken, right? And this claim, in order to achieve, there is a certain process that you have to follow. Either how the chicken will rest before the breading or after the breading, or cooking time, what is the holding time after it. There is certain measurement in order to keep the consistency and in order to deliver what you promise the customer with. And that creates a credibility on the long term. And people, regardless, they might have one or two bad experience with you,
Yeah.
but they understand that you're trying to be consistent, and this is why they're going to come back and back again to you. So fried chicken, no, it's not an easy field. People think from outside they're just selling fried chicken. No, it is not. You have to be very specific on even with the supply chain on what type of chicken you are buying, what is the size, what is the specification. It's quite big word, and proudly I have to say that in ServQuest, particularly with serving Al-Baik chicken,
That's what I want to talk about.
quality is number one in everything. It's like I never seen anyone obsessed with the quality that much.
How did ServQuest happen? And we're going to talk about Al-Baik even more, but
ServQuest, ServQuest was starting ServQuest, I think, with Dubai Mall. They opened one outlet in Dubai Mall, and everyone knows about the lines happen during Al-Baik opening.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Al-Baik? What exactly, to you?
It's coming.
For anybody who's, let's say, who doesn't know Al-Baik and watching.
I think if I'm gonna start talk about Bait, I have to start to talk about how, why ServQuest was exist. Okay, so Kareem, who's our CEO, who was specific about what kind of brand that he need to select for ServQuest, and I think he was focusing on Al-Baik because he had multiple experience with Al-Baik as well. As a customer, he understand what is the quality is about. And it's quite difficult to meet Al-Baik team and have an interaction with them, and in order even to get Al-Baik as a franchise. So Kareem was very precise about it.
Because they don't give the franchise away.
No, they
why
select
is it
the
difficult?
quality. They even go to the limit that they have to do a kind of due diligence about who are you, what you do, and how you run your business. What is your philosophy? Because they are quite different. Okay,
For
regardless
sure,
that other
I think
brands.
everybody can see that now.
Yeah. Regardless, there was a fried chicken brands already in the UAE a long time ago, but he felt there is a good space for this brand since it's really more focused on the customer service and the quality. People can
How
hurt
did
each
Dubai
other.
Mall people react? How did
Yeah,
Ema react?
listen, everyone was expecting a crowd, but not to that limit.
Wow.
And thank God, till now, we still have this crowd in Dubai Mall. And during Eid time, that we have a special preparation for Dubai Mall. Like we really hire securities from special companies
For Al-Baik store
for a
in
big
Dubai Mall.
specifically in Dubai Mall to just keep people safe. So
It's actually surprising. You know, whenever I speak to anybody about Al-Baik,
Yeah.
and let's say especially people in the US or India, people who have visited Dubai, and I'll just ask them, hey, have you heard of Al-Baik?
Yeah.
90% of the times I've heard, oh yeah, the one that has a lot of queues in Dubai Mall. I'm like, oh wow, okay, yeah. Did you try it? He said no, because there were queues in Dubai Mall.
True.
So I'm like, okay.
True.
Where did you go? Is it
Yeah.
KFC? I think there's a KFC right around that, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I know it from so many people that there is a KFC like just, adjacent or, around.
Yes. But that gives us a lesson on not everyone have the time to stay in a queue, and we have to be accessible everywhere. And this is why we reached now to 12 restaurants. We opening Dalma Mall very soon next week in Abu Dhabi. And we are very, very specific on choosing our location. So you're not going to see all of them in a food court. You will see us on the street side. So you can have a drive-through, you can have a pickup, you can just park your car somehow, 5 minutes, get your chicken and go out.
I saw that you guys were responsible for jams in Rashidia.
Yeah, that was our, again, first drive-through. So the first thing that we do in each and everything, that it should be like that.
Did RTO find you?
We managed to come to a deal that replanning the routes of the road in a way to
That's
facilitate
legendary,
it.
man.
But we had actually a quite lengthy meeting with RTA, and I have to be honest,
that's legendary. I mean,
3-4 days in a row.
I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and
like,
by the
what
way,
a
we're
brand,
serving limited items over there, because if we serve the entire menu, it's going to be a problem. So we agreed on serving a limited item in order to just make the
I'm assuming
quick.
that like the way RTO is not going to reroute just because of one store.
Yeah.
I'm sure Emaar also will not allow somebody to have their own security in the mall.
Yep. Yeah. But we do that from completely different perspective. So even the checklist that we do before we opening any other restaurant, customer safety comes first. So we have a completely entire department called crowd control department that he has to come with a plan to control the crowd in each and every opening. And if this crowd control person comes and say, no, things are not safe, we delay the opening until we make sure 100% things are correct.
That's crazy.
So this is another aspect.
What makes, I mean, from your perspective as an operator,
Yeah.
and this question is, also about your learning, because I'm sure this is like a new dimension, right? Yeah. So what makes this brand tick, and what has been your learning after so many years in the business?
Yeah.
What is it that you have learned even more new, or something that was intriguing for Al-Baik as an operation?
Okay, I can say how genuine is the aspect of really we have to care about our customers. So you hear this a lot. We have to take care of our customers, right? We have to take care of them in terms of providing them a proper quality, quick service, But we come to a certain point that we take care about their own pockets. So you have this question all the time from the CEO of Al-Baik or the CEO of ServQuest. They ask this question: do you think this product will be expensive? Do you think whatever the product that you're offering is going to be affordable for everyone in general? without excluding any category in the community. My goal and my only goal to be affordable and everyone can come and buy and eat. So I think that makes a difference.
But that's amazing that you're saying that, because I recently, got an opportunity to meet engineer Rami,
Yes.
and in my 45 minutes worth of interaction,
Yeah.
I heard that twice.
Yeah.
I can now relate.
It is a philosophy.
I heard that twice.
Yeah,
Like in a conversation, he basically said, when we don't work efficiently, my customer pays for it. I can't make my customer pay for it.
Yeah.
And now I'm relating. I
Yeah.
mean, it is just hitting me now
Yeah.
that it was not the conversation I had. It's a
It is a system.
philosophically,
It is
that's
philosophy. We all and you'll find us saying that without preparing for it. It just comes naturally. Because this is how we talk about the business on a daily basis. And the last thing I will do as a brand GM, that I'll go with a proposal to increase any price. This is something. It might be crucial. It might take us to a completely different direction. So I'm very careful and keen as well on implementing this philosophy in the UAE. Since the life cost here is still expensive, right? It's not. I do believe Saudi still, the Saudi community don't have this kind of pressure that people who live in Dubai has.
But
Maybe it's
my
changing.
experience. But my experience of Saudi is that for some reason, from a food price
Yeah.
perspective, Saudi is quite cost conscious.
Oh, yeah.
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 I mean, from a food price perspective, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about their affordability.
Yeah, yeah.
But for some reason,
yeah.
my observation is that in Saudi, Saudi people,
Yeah.
when they look at food as expensive,
Yeah.
they don't like it. It's not it's not that they don't want to spend.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
understand, yeah.
somewhere the belief is
Yeah.
that you should not overcharge on food.
Yeah.
Because I see that in the reviews. I see that
Yeah.
in the when I was looking at when I look at restaurants in Riyadh or Jeddah
Yeah.
on my visits, and when I see their Google reviews, and if somebody is like doing like 3.9 while the restaurant looks absolutely fab,
Yeah.
and I generally go and look at like 1-star reviews, most of them are getting butchered for being expensive. And I'm like, wow, that's like 1,000 reviews, which is they're saying that it's expensive. It has to be a culture thing that they don't think that food should be expensive,
Yeah.
which is quite a noble idea if you think about it. Not
It
for the
is.
capitalist world, but
yeah. But maybe we are, because I'm here in the UAE since I think 2012, and I think the way that we perceive the food industry or the restaurant industry in general, that quality usually come with a price, and we get used to. So we don't have this kind of principle.
but I think Al-Baik is an outlier, because the kind of
Yeah,
volumes,
completely.
I mean, the kind of razor thin margins,
Yeah.
you may be operating on. I don't think without volumes, it can be justified anyway. I don't think any other brand can do that.
It's gonna be difficult. It's
Yeah.
gonna be difficult to sustain that. So I think the main elements is to be really affordable and provide the right quality to the customer, and that those are the main ingredients of the success of Al-Baik. I believe so, and we're trying to implement that in the UAE, and hopefully the growth will be triple X very, very soon, which we actually having in 2024. We have a quite good expansion plan.
Absolutely.
yeah,
And
to
you guys
cover
are doing
most
a
of the
great job
areas.
on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Alaa, what frustrates you? What are the things that you, on a day-to-day basis, like in general,
Yeah.
you feel that, what, the day I have my way, I'll change it.
Okay, that I don't know if it's a tricky question or or a difficult one, but listen, decision-making process. One of the things that sometimes frustrate me. It could be a very, very clear idea. It could be very obvious to everyone that it is a good idea. The process of making the decision, it might make you lose the opportunity, and sometimes it make you lose interest on what you're trying to do. Okay, and this is not on a specific thing
Sure.
that I've been faced through my whole career about. Maybe it's because I've get this more often. People telling me that you a bit high temper sometimes. You are you want to make things happening very quick, and this is part of me. I cannot change. Like I've tried many times, but when I have something to do, I want to do it. I don't feel comfortable until I finish it, and this is not how the world goes sometimes, sometimes I find out after being really motivated to do something and I feel it's really good idea. After going through the process, I find that, you know what, I think I was wrong here. I think they had a point. And here exactly will I have learned that to be patient a little bit and balance things and listen to the people who are being in this industry more than you. Listen to the people who has experience more than you. Being pushy all the time is not the ultimate goal.
So have you like
Yeah,
subdued a little?
I've tuned it, but sometimes I lose it. I have to be honest. Sometimes I just lose the temper, and not in a bad way, but sometimes I just I show my frustration, and that might have a negative impact sometimes on people around you.
What do you think? People are. I mean, UAE is of course always bustling with restaurants and hospitality in general. But what do you think is your advice in general is to to people who are starting in the restaurant industry today? Because I see that in the current breed of people, nobody wants to have a 10-year plan for some reason.
Exactly.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, I don't think there's any business or any career that can be built in 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe TikToker, but so I stand corrected. Maybe TikToker, but in hospitality it's even longer because your experiential learning is like too deep. You have to rough it out. There is no possible. There's no other way.
Exactly.
What is it? What's your advice to people starting in the restaurant space or thinking about making it in the restaurant space?
Listen, before we had this podcast, we've been talking about that there is already a big hype for the last few years about the startup companies, tech companies as well. And you will see them all the time on the media, podcasts, and they talk about themselves and the success. But if you really dig deep enough and you find out the factors of their success, they're relying more on quick service, delivery, providing customers with whatever he think about in a quite quick time. But all that comes from the restaurant industry. The main elements of the restaurant industry is providing quality, providing good service. So I think tech companies have taken those two elements, they implement them on a different way, scale it up, and they gone viral everywhere. But look at it. It was all the time about having good time in the restaurant and having good quality food all the time. Either you have your girlfriend, either you have your family, either you are with your parents. You discuss for 10 minutes about where you want to eat and you vote. Then there is a specific restaurant that you have good memories with and they are sure 100% that they're going to have a proper quality food over there. Then they start to do the journey. So it is a proper journey because you have time to talk about it before, during, having the food, and after leaving the restaurant, you might have a comment or two on what happened in the restaurant. And the food was amazing today. The steak was really delicious whatsoever. And then when you meet a friend, you start to tell him about your experience in this restaurant. So it's a lengthy process, even for you as a personal, to have a good restaurant experience. You go through a lot of stages and you still talk about it. So when you establish the business, don't think it's something that you can build in 1 year and be successful and just... And I hear this a lot, even from people who are thinking about having a franchise in the UAE. So like, get the franchise 5 years and just sell it or just close the
make
business.
like 100 restaurants and
Really, is that the ultimate goal? I don't think he can make it. it is a legacy. Establish even one restaurant, having good reputation, provide customers with a good service and good food that might live with you your entire life and can be inherited even to your sons and kids. And this is what happened in India. That what happened in Egypt, in Italy. You will find restaurants.
Yeah, generational.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they have ethics, they have principle, and they stick to it, and they been known for it. So success is not that you hit and run. Success is not that you establish 20, 50 restaurant in very short period, get the profit and leave. Because believe me, this is going to be like a very, very limited profit with the limited period that you are running the business, and you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
You're not going to sustain it.
Unless you really love it, there is
Yeah.
no point doing it.
Yeah. So establishing a restaurant business, if you're not in love with the industry, if you're not committed to, if you're not understanding what kind of discipline that comes with, I don't think you should start this business eventually from the beginning.
But then what about the notion that restaurant business has a lot of money?
It's quite wrong. People need to, and this is I think the reason behind. I've heard the statistic, and I'm not sure if it's correct or not, but 70% of the people who start restaurant business, they failed, and only 30% are really success.
No, I don't think so. I think the number should be higher.
Higher, more than 70%.
Yeah, I don't think. I think if 30% were succeeding,
Okay.
Things would have been even
Exactly.
good.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And this is behind the perception of, I have money, let's open a restaurant. It brings a lot of money.
you know what baffles me is and is the fact that to be a doctor you need a degree.
Yeah.
To be maybe a civil engineer you need a degree.
Yeah, of course.
You need formal education and training
Yeah.
to be a chartered accountant, to a lawyer.
Yeah.
Restaurant owner, the only qualification is that you should have money. Restaurant owner.
Yeah.
And by the way, before I point a finger to the world outside,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was that restaurateur.
Yeah.
I used to run a telecom company.
Yeah.
And one day, I said, oh, let's open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Why? Because I love food and I have money. And that's it. And got screwed. I stopped liking that food. I was like, dude, this is too expensive. I'm not eating at my own restaurant. It kills me. Hard realization.
Yeah, it is good that you have the passion for the restaurants, even if you have money. But get someone who knows the industry. Let him work for you. It's gonna be way better, because establishing a restaurant is not just being a chef or understanding food. It is supply chain. It's R&D. It is operation management. It is cleaning company. It is marketing. It is even the person who done the signage outside. Everything participating in the success. And you need to understand all of that, which is quite difficult. You will never understand it if you're not working in the field for quite a long time. Even though you have a degree in restaurant management or whatsoever, if you didn't go inside the kitchen and work there and touch the hot utensils over there, I don't think you understand what is the restaurant business means. There is people love this kind of business to the limit that when they go outside in the dining, they look at the customer and they immediately understand what he wants without even asking him. I have met people. We've been talking about multiple restaurants, P&L. And this person, I will never forget him. He was just walking by. He didn't even stop for 2 minutes. He looked at all the financial studies and like, this store and this store will break even next year. Close this restaurant, it's not gonna make money. Those 3 restaurants will be successful. And he walked. He didn't even take 2 minutes. He just looked at it. And he was true. Exactly what he said happened. This is how much people are involved in this kind of industry. This is how much they love it.
Wow.
Yeah. I met these people, and those people who are inspiring me, to be honest. And wherever the chance come to tell a story about those kind of people I met in the industry in my life, I don't hesitate to tell the stories because it's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what about technology? And by that, what I mean is efficiency is the continuous, push today.
Yeah.
And you're running, Al-Baik
Yeah.
in UAE, so that brand is all about efficiency, and
True.
efficiency. Outside of the restaurant, also the same things are happening. Some pieces you just mentioned, right? So the tech companies came and they just made the food available to the customer in a very different way.
Yeah.
The way customer is interacting with your brand is continuously shifting.
Yeah.
And for last 5 years, and especially through the COVID, restaurants had to just react and then continuously innovate on that.
Yeah.
As an operator, what is your feeling about technology eating the restaurant world?
I think this conversation was happening really during the pandemic. So I would say technology was all there, right? There was always a good part in the restaurant industry that you can use technology in a way not going to affect the entire experience. The human touch should be over there. Pandemic happened, then the physical contact between people was very limited. Then a lot of technologies comes in to even emphasize the less contact that happened between people who's running the business and their customers, to the limit that things became very robotics, and we missed the experience of being in a restaurant. We missed this human interact, the human touch of, hi, how are you? How is your days going? Was making a big difference between the customer and the waiter who's coming on the table. And maybe that morning greeting was making a huge difference in my life. When I go to some place to have my coffee and maybe my chorus one in the morning, they're like, hey, Alaa, how are you? How's your day? And we start have this 2 minutes of little chat. Disappeared during the pandemic. Then once the pandemic gone, and hopefully it's not gonna come back again, some people who operating restaurants start to realize that, and they start even to limit the technology in their industry to the limit that not to overcome on the customer experience. So it's very good that I can use a QR code. It's okay. I don't mind that. But sometimes
I hate it. We provide technology to the restaurants, but trust me, if I am dining at a restaurant and if anybody asks me to scan QR code for menu, I'm like, come on, man. I'm not doing this. And people around me will be like, dude, you guys do this. I'm like, see, we do this because customers demand it, like our customers, which are restaurateurs. If I had my way, I will take the QR code menu out, not only from my portfolio, from the world. Don't do this.
True.
Do a physical menu.
True.
Have somebody talk to you about you know what, this dish was good.
I agree.
Let them describe how that dish is.
Yeah. What happened to the old days when the waiter comes or the chef comes from the kitchen and tell you about the special today?
No, but I'm still like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
If I'm going to a restaurant, of course, unless it is a fast food, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to a proper dining restaurant, I am a customer who calls for chef.
Yeah. I need him to explain to me why he's cooking today.
Correct.
And why it's so special.
Yeah. And I will, make sure that I first give the server hard time.
Yeah.
By making him explain every dish.
Yeah.
And to the point where he's like, you know what, you need chef.
Yeah.
Very good idea.
Yeah. Please get me the chef because I want to hear it from him.
Yeah.
Right? When he talks about his ingredients, it's completely different.
Yeah, that's a part of experience for me. That's experience.
Yeah.
I already have, some part of that dish is already there with me because he explained it.
Exactly. Tell you about the herbs and where the herbs are being grown in, and tell you about the cut of beef that he's using. Is it which country? What part of, and telling you about how he cook it and what kind of garlic sauce or garlic bread or whatever he's putting on it. It makes you already prepared mentally and physically to have this dish. And this is part of the experience. But the QR code is not delivering this experience. I'm sorry.
But I think in the QSR space, or
QSR is
I
different.
think QSR is the efficiency that you're continuously, talking about, thinking about. As an operator, are you still reacting to how customer wants to interact with you in a drive-through, in the store, online, or are you also thinking about it, proactively, that, hey, can I be the reason why customers' behavior changes with my brand? Where are you in that journey?
So again, ServQuest, Al-Baik, they always doing things in a different way. We have a drive-through. Normally, when you go to the drive-through, there is not a window. There is like a box that someone's speaking to you from it, and 90% you're not sure about what he's saying to you, and he's not hearing you correctly, and you have to repeat yourself quite a few times until you get your order correctly, right? In Al-Baik, we have a human touch in this part. So we have an actual person. Obviously, if it's not really hot in Dubai, when the weather is really good, we are very careful on having someone outside talking to you while you are in your car. The drive-through Al-Baik in Saudi, they have the same system. And they even provide people with AC outside, hood, and everything to make sure that people who's outside are very protected.
In the harsh,
but at the same time, have this human interaction with their customers. So this is how we do technology differently in ServQuest.
So using technology but not losing the human touch.
Yeah, it should be there all the time.
And that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Alaa, my last but an important question: what's keeping you excited apart from your day job, in the sense that you have your own roster of stuff, you have things on your mind?
Yeah.
But what keeps you ticking? What keeps you excited?
Okay. Sometimes I'm obsessed with the details, and details makes me excited all the time. Details in a sense that I love to know the names of our stuff. Like I love when I go to a restaurant and I know their names and I call their names. I do not just say hi, how are you, and just moving on. And if there is a chance to know a fact or two about his life, is even better, because when I see him next time and I say hi and I call his name and I ask him about these details he told me about the last time, believe me, this is the key of how to manage people properly and make them attached to your goals and your objectives. You should be very, very genuine on know their details, not just from the surface. Hi, Ashish, or hi, whatsoever his name, without creating this bond. So details in this particular point is very important for me, and makes me all the time when I go and visit restaurants, I wanna remember as much as I can who are there, what they do, details about their lives. So this is the most excited part about
I'm sure
job.
that's beautiful. I'm sure that makes you a phenomenal operator.
Thank you.
No wonder
Appreciate
no wonder
that.
you're doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
Alaa, this was a great chat.
Thank you.
A great journey. I think you've contributed to great brands, and great brands have contributed to you.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
continues to happen.
They built me up.
That's beautiful. And this was enriching.
Thank you so much. It was really wonderful conversation. Glad that you invited me to be with you here. Obviously, after I've seen a lot of fantastic people, I'm not comparable to them whatsoever. But giving me this space, it's giving me even more rich experience about what's happening in the UAE. Thank you, Ashish. Appreciate it.
Thank you.